Well, it is such a beautiful day that I had to record outside today, even though it's a little bright for my eyeballs. So if I'm squinty, it's worth it. All right, we are on May myth number 5 right now. And in today's Catalyst conversation, we're cracking open one of the most, maybe the most seductive lie in relationships, which is the false belief that you know how to love, that you know what you're doing. Because if you really knew what you were doing, you wouldn't still be stuck in the same arguments, the same patterns, or the same disconnection, right? So we're going to talk about that. Welcome, though. Let's introduce this conversation. Welcome to today's Catalyst conversation for a relationship revolution. Here we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about love, flip the script on what you've been taught, and reveal the truths that no one's told you. Here we unlock a whole new paradigm of partnership, one that anchors in unconscious in unconscious gets rid of the unconscious and anchors into consciousness and empowerment and results in the kind of relationships that most people only dream of. So, like I said, today we're challenging the myth that you know what you're doing in your relationships. As always, this conversation might challenge you. It might make you uncomfortable, and it might just set you free. So, before we get into it, I want to take a moment to introduce myself for those of you who may be new to these Catalyst conversations or my work. My name is Dr. Jenny Wallig, and I am an award-winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, educator, and I'm a disruptor. I am determined to make the world a better place through more conscious and evolved relationships. Alongside my partner and soulmate, Calvin O'Seely, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Powerful Love Relationships and co-creator of the 3-Pillar Powerful Love Method, a proven path to saving, healing, and improving your relationship even if your partner is not doing the work alongside you yet. In these Catalyst conversations and in everything we do at Powerful Love, the goal isn't just to teach you how to do relationships better. It is to redefine how relationships work and to empower you, fellow visionary, to create a relationship that fills your heart and fuels your dreams. Ready? Let's get into it. So, this particular myth, the idea that we know what we're doing in relationships, is one of the most dangerous myths out there because it hides in plain sight, y'all. You're successful, you're thoughtful, you're committed, and probably there's a lot of part of your relationships that are going fairly well. And so it's really easy to assume that that means that you know how to do relationships well. But here's the problem. Most of us are running on default programming that we did not choose. Our ideas about relationships and how we act or react, interact, that is programming and patterning that has come from our culture, our families, our society, our the media, our friends, right? And we didn't consciously choose that. We've been given that, right? It is unquestioned programming that's operating, and frankly, it doesn't often work very well. And so while we think that we might be intentional, really, we're more often than not just on autopilot. And that unconscious repetition costs us the depth, the connection, the intimacy, and the fulfillment that we could be experiencing if we were actually leading our relationship with awareness. Even more than that, most people don't really know what it means to love. We have an idea of what we think love is. We think it's a feeling, right? A spark, an emotional state, a connection between people, but that's not really what it is. Love, real conscious love, is something that you do. It's a choice, it's a practice, it's a willingness to extend yourself for the highest good and growth of the whole. And if you were never taught that, it makes sense that you would mistakenly um, think that you knew how to do love. And again, none of us, love, are taught how to do this. It is not part of our culture. It is not part of the dominant discourse. And so we think that we understand relationships. And even after decades of studying relationships myself and teaching them to others, I'm still learning about relationships. So I want to break this down for you into what you really need to know and understand, to bust out of this myth and liberate yourself from this limiting belief that you actually know what you're doing. First of all, understand that love, relationships are not something that we all just know how to do. It is something we learn. Like walking, we learn how to walk. Like emotional regulation, we learn how to regulate our emotions, or we don't. And some people don't. It is not just something that is a given, it is something that we need to learn. But the moment that we think that we already know, that we've already mastered relationships, one of the most sophisticated and important skill sets of our entire lives, if we think we've already got that down, that's the moment we stop growing. Okay? So I want you to understand, first of all, autopilot, operating on that automatic programming, that's not intimacy. If your brain is just running on its old programs, guess what? You're not choosing your relationship. You're reenacting it from something that likely is being influenced by the past, right? By other relationships, by other ideas, by shit that doesn't work. Okay, that's not conscious creation. That's not intimacy. And it certainly is not unlocking the true full potential that your relationship has. Furthermore, you don't know what you don't know. And that's not a bad thing. That's not anything to be ashamed of. Actually, it is quite liberating because when you realize that you don't know what you don't know, when you realize that you're still a learner of this thing called relationships, in particular, this thing called a relationship with that particular person, you open the door for more learning, growth, and expansion. Being in our learner's mind, assuming we don't know everything, being open to learning, that is how we grow and how we continue to improve our relationships and ourselves. It's essential, my friends. I also want to say, again, that like no one taught you how to do this. You've learned about love from rom-coms, childhood dynamics, trial and error, past relationships, what your parents did, right? That is not solid education. That is survival and kind of fumbling through. It's not going to take you to the revolutionary, extraordinary relationship that you desire. So that means that with a learner's mind, the awareness that you don't know what you don't know, and the understanding that you haven't been taught how to do this well, you're in a position to start teaching yourself, to start learning new things. And finally, I want to say, like, this myth of natural love, like that if we find the right relationship, the right person, that love should be easy. That piece keeps you stuck, right? Real love, conscious love, that takes skills, it takes leadership, it takes presence, and it takes an ongoing learning and growth journey. So when you understand this, you move from this idea of love and relationships as this passive thing that's supposed to work kind of automatically into a conscious, intentional, self-led, active, responsive way of being in your relationship. You move from reactive to responding because that is what real love is. It is a response, it is consciousness, it is actively engaged in and not just reactively or passively experienced. Love and relationships are a deliberate practice, right? As I said before, they are the ongoing willingness to extend yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sometimes even physically, for the growth and highest good of the relationship as a whole. That means for the well-being of you and your partner. And sometimes that means that it's hard, that it's painful, that you have to acknowledge truths or feelings that someone may not like, that you have to um, let go of your attachment or expectation to it being a certain way so that you can show up for the relationship or the partner that you really have. Real, true love and the sophisticated skill of relationship mastery is so much more nuanced and complex than most of us realize. But when you're doing this practice, when you are learning how to do relationships better, you're asking yourself, like, who am I becoming? How can I show up and to create the kind of connection that I desire and that we both deserve? Now you're asking questions that allow for you to find the answers, right? And so when you get good at this, when you stop pretending that you already know how to do relationships, you become curious, you become teachable, you become powerful. And that, my friend, is when the game changes because you're now not just hoping that things will improve or feeling frustrated because maybe you picked the wrong partner, because love isn't feeling easy. You are leading your relationship to what you desire. You're no longer at the mercy of your programming. You are able to liberate yourself from that shit that you didn't choose, and you're creating your love and relationships on purpose in a way that expands everything from wherever you're starting. So if you're in the relationship revolution, right, you're going to get this week's activation on Monday. This is a prompt, remember, to help you apply this shift in very real everyday moments, to take it deeper and to embody it and integrate it into your life, because we know that learning isn't just new information for our mind. If it's learning is to become transformation, it needs to be brought into embodied, applied practice, right? That's what makes it permanent. That's what creates the real changes in our life. If you are not in the relationship revolution yet, this is your invitation, right? If this conversation has sparked something in you, lit something up, then the relationship revolution is where you need to be. The Relationship Revolution is my monthly membership where we go deeper into these truths with live mentorship, real-time coaching, weekly prompts to transform your relationship from the inside out, and behind the scenes looks at how my partner and I are applying these ideas in our life. The founding member rate is still available, but not for long. It's only $97 a month, and you get locked in for life. So come and join us. I will post the link in the show notes. The Relationship Revolution is your opportunity to continue to consciously grow and evolve who you be and the relationships that you're consciously creating. And in turn, everything elevates, everything expands, everything levels up, because that's the power of our relationships. So here's your reminder before we close. You don't have to already know. In fact, you can't. You just have to be willing to learn something new and to keep learning as you change, as your partner changes, as you engage in new relationships throughout your life. That willingness, that's where your power begins. Good stuff. I will look forward to seeing you next time for another Catalyst conversation in Relationship Revolution every Friday at 12:30 Pacific. Until then, keep leading with love, my friends.